All right, so we are live. We were going to do some music, but it ended up not working.
Oh,
But
okay.
we are live with the live recording for episode 3 of Mando Talk on Sunday Night RPG. You have myself, Seriann 1987, and Beardsly
Me,
89.
Beardsly.
And we are, again, here to discuss the most recent episode of The Mandalorian. This time, episode 3, chapter 11, The Heiress.
Mm-hmm.
Again, sorry to cut you off there, Beers, but the rule is, if the mythosaur is up in the corner, then we are talking non-spoilers. That'll go away in a bit, and we will talk spoilers, which there's going to be a lot to talk about on this episode. So, just to get us started, Beardsley, what did you think of this episode?
I was stoked for it. A little confused when they said the heiress until you get later on in the episode, but I loved it. It was a great episode. Definitely some what people have been wanting since season 1, I think, and we got what everyone wanted with some continuation from other series, and everything. It was real good.
Yeah, and I'm going to be honest. It being Dave Filoni, I imagined they were going to continue from those series. Because Dave Filoni, for those that don't know, is the guy who basically was behind the animated TV shows for Star Wars. Story goes, he was. I mean, the best way I can say it is like personally blessed by George Lucas to make the TV shows. He tells the story in one of the behind the scenes thing where he went and had an interview with George Lucas and just talking about the universe and stuff before he finally got the rights to do things. So he is a huge Star Wars fanatic, and that really tells in the shows, I think. He does a very good job of expanding the universe. But yeah, this episode was fast.
Yeah, it was. It was. I watched it twice, and first time it went fairly quickly. The second time I thought it would go a little bit longer because I'd already seen it. But no, like I started it, was eating some lunch, and then next thing I know, it's like it's already over with. It was.
Yeah, I think after you cut out the credits and the
Intro
intro,
recap.
you're down to like 24, 25 minutes, which is not a lot of time for things to happen. I don't know about you, but I was really hoping this season they'd go longer with the extra budget. But
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but I mean, I liked the fact that it did what it needed to do to tell the story. So
True.
it wasn't too long. They got in. They said what they had to say. They got out.
True.
I always appreciate that with stuff where it's succinct and to the point, and it's not extrapolated to the point where it's like, all right, we've got 8 scenes in here that don't need to belong, but we're in it just because we're trying to extend time because reasons.
Yep. True, but at the same time, like they didn't really explain who the characters were that they introduced in this episode.
No, they didn't. They kind of expect.
There was a
fans to
line,
know.
and that was it.
Yeah.
And it's just now they did answer a few things in this episode, but which we'll talk about in the spoiler section. They did answer some things. There was again more consequences, more callbacks to season 1, but just the whole thing was just over so fast.
Yeah, it was fairly quick. I mean, it was quicker than I think. Yeah, some of the other season 1 episodes. But it was close. There was a close tie between some of the season 1 episodes. The first couple episodes are also about the same length. But yeah, this one definitely felt a lot faster than. But it's also action packed, and I think that helps.
True. And
keep it faster. Like pretty much from the get go, it's a continuous motion.
Yeah, and this one was again directed by Bryce Dallas Howard, who did the ATST episode last season.
Which should say something, I think, because both of my favorite episodes so far, those are 1 and 2. The ATST, episode 4 from season 1, and then now this one.
This was just a lot different than the episode she directed last time.
Yeah.
That one was
my favorite.
lot...
I was like, oh, she did it at the end of the thing. I was like, oh, okay, great.
Right.
Explains why it's my favorite episode now.
It's nice to see that she isn't kind of pigeonholed into the one kind of thing either. So, but no, I did a good job. There was a lot of good like cinematic shots. As always, I want to grab all of the all the stuff during the end credits, the concept art, and have rolling backgrounds on my desktop. But very good job. Direction wise, I just wish there was a little more explanation on stuff. But
I think for the average viewer, they would want a little bit more explanation. For people who have seen Rebels, Clone Wars, and everything, there's nothing needed to be said. I mean, you know who these people are that show up.
Very true. Yeah, I don't know. It's just I haven't watched the entirety of Rebels.
Oh, okay.
So there are points that are a little lost on me.
Which, I mean, really, that's the whole Darksaber thing, too. Going back to the end of season 1, like the little cliffhanger shown with Moff Gideon having that.
Right.
That's really for people who've seen Rebels, because everyone who's seen Rebels up to a certain point knows where that's at.
Right. And I understand the broad strokes of Rebels, but at the same time, it's just like, well, there would have been some nice things to know. So, but no, that was. Trying to think if there's anything else to say about it. I mean, I love seeing the like. All right, we've never been to the planet Trask before, which is where they're going. So it was nice to see some of the stuff there. Like there was the AT-AT legged crane that we see at the beginning of this one. That it was kind of nice to see they're salvaging Imperial technology and using it to do stuff that they wouldn't have done before. So, I like seeing that piece of the world building. Like they're still using old stuff. It's, Star Wars started with George Lucas doing a used universe, right? So this was more of that. Like they just salvaged whatever they could. This is the water world from the trailer, which had the person on the docks and it had the boat. So we're again burning through all of the early stuff, or the trailers. We're burning through the stuff in the trailer in the early episodes. So I do think this episode though did give us an idea of where this season's going. If not the full arc of the show.
Yeah, and I think it definitely led credence towards where we might see Mando go. We just get just a little foreshadowment and hints of that in this episode, where they could go down this, and they don't have to, but there's a road that they've kind of opened up with this episode where he could eventually go.
Right. And they did, like I said, they did answer some questions about that, solve some canonical issues with the Mandalorians. Specifically the helmets.
Yeah, some specific issues with their ideologies, from previous things.
Which I mean, I don't think it's spoiler territory, but Mando doesn't take his helmet off, but Mandalorians that we've seen before this have taken their helmets off no problem. So it was always a little weird. But I think they answered that. I wish they would have fleshed it out a little bit more, but
I'm sure they actually probably will.
I'm sure they will too.
I think we wanted more just because it's really just a little couple toss-off lines. It doesn't seem to affect him too much, but I think in future episodes we're going to see more and more where he comes across more and more Mandalorians, maybe even
that don't fit what he thought the creed was.
Yeah.
So, and I will say there's been, they touched on it last episode. They touched on it again this episode, I think. The whole idea of, okay, he wants to be a Mandalorian, so he follows the creed. But he seems to follow the easier to follow parts of the creed as he sees it than the more complex ones. Like last episode, he was ready to just abandon Frog Lady and be done with it, versus the Mandalorian creed says you have to follow through with your word. But he has no problem with the helmet thing, but that's also an external sign of following the creed versus an internal sign of following the creed. So I don't know. It could be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward to see what they do with that. I'm looking forward to see where they take this episode, which big name drop at the end of this episode. We'll save it for the spoiler section at the end of the spoiler section. But no, big name drop at the end of this episode. It was very well done. I was watching it with my wife and she was very excited.
Oh.
I was excited to see the extra character this time around, but anyway, I think that's all I have for the non-spoiler stuff. Well
yeah,
done.
because you can't really get too far in talking about this without getting into spoilers. Yeah.
So, you know, I don't know if I'd put this on my list of favorite episodes without the special guest character and the way that worked, because it felt a little
Well,
fast.
yeah, I mean, if it didn't have specific characters in it, yeah, it wouldn't be a good episode. I don't think it would have been a top episode at all for me. But the fact of who's in it, and where it's going and where it's leading off to, I think that's what puts it into a favorite episode for me.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who wrote this one. Was Dave Filoni that wrote this one? Trying to remember who wrote it.
It wasn't Jon
Written by
Favreau?
it was written by Jon Favreau. So, I know Dave Filoni wrote the 5th episode.
Oh, okay.
And since this had characters that he created, I was wondering if he wrote this one as well. So, anyway, yeah, so we'll go ahead and switch it over to spoiler section. So, Mythosaur is going away. I don't know what they sound like, but anyway.
Either. It's a myth.
Welcome to the spoiler section, in which case we go, holy hell, Bo-Katan.
Yeah.
Or also, holy heck, Katie Sackhoff. She did a very good job in this episode. Now, I don't think I realized she voiced Bo-Katan in the shows.
Yeah, so it makes her the, I would say, second live-action actor to also portray her animated character. The first being, oh gosh, well, I can't think of his name. Oh no, maybe he didn't do the original. He did it later on. Forrest Whitaker.
Okay. Yeah, he did the character later on.
He did it later on, but
he was the first character taken from the animated stuff to live action.
Yeah.
This is the first one that...
Yeah, she's the first one to do both.
Play the character that she was. And having watched Season 7 of Clone Wars, I'm pretty sure they knew this was coming and they modeled older Bo-Katan on Katie Sackhoff.
Yeah.
Because it looked... I mean, you're going from a stylized animation to live action,
And then
but...
she also shows up in Rebels.
Right. And again, stylized animation.
Yeah.
But no, that was so good to see that character. We'll talk about it when it shows up, but we're gonna go through kind of block chunk by chunk, talk about it. I was teaching today, so I didn't have a great chance to take some notes. But we'll start out with. It starts with the Razor Crest just drifting through space.
All right, so I'm gonna say I had a lot of Firefly Serenity moments with this episode, coming in with the entrance, because they're like, was that my primary bumper panel falling off?
Yeah, the ship comes in, the Razor Crest comes in, and just dropping parts of it.
Yeah.
Coming into the spaceport, he might have enough fuel to stop them from crashing.
And it's just like, or we just might burn up and die.
Yep, there was a lot of Firefly kind of stuff in that too, but Razor Crest comes in, almost crashes.
And then you think it's going to land without a hitch. And then right at the last second, was it the left
I think it was the right side of the
engine. One of the engines just blows and it just tips over.
And into the water it goes. And then of course, it's a water planet. And there's a lot of men calamari, there's a lot of Quarren on the planet, which I appreciate the fact that they paid attention to that and they put aquatic species on this planet. So, no, and again, just you get that moment of, oh, he did it, and then, which I think makes it funnier.
And then you see the crane picking it up, and like, I wonder if this happens often enough on a water planet that they have it just at the ready.
I don't know.
To pick up ships that are right there on the edge of the docks and everything, the port. I would have to assume it must.
I would hope so. But,
or it's just there's enough salvage of ships falling into the water around the area.
But no, so we go from that to drops off Frog Lady with her husband, which it was kind of adorable to see the two of them together.
Yeah.
I don't remember who did the who did the suit work for the male, but I know Misty Rogers did the suit work for Frog Lady.
Yeah, which she did Queel in season 1.
And I know the voice was provided by D. Bradley Baker.
Oh, that makes sense because he does animal voices all over the place. I mean, I think he was Appa in...
He was Appa and Momo.
Yeah.
And pretty much any animal.
Well, and he's also, I think, Bradley Baker, isn't he the voice of the clones?
He is the voice of the clones.
Yeah. So throwing in just random Star Wars actors in there, sure. Just,
yeah.
You know.
So, nope. Reunites them, and they direct him to a cantina where he can hopefully find information about the Mandalorians. We see our mysterious cloaked figure on the docks, which now when I first saw the trailer, I didn't get a great look at her, which I think that was on purpose on their part. I was figuring that would be Ahsoka. Beardsley, you're muted.
Yeah. I was thinking it would be Sabine Wren from Rebels.
Yeah,
because I got a second look at the trailer and it definitely didn't look
Ahsoka.
Whatever her race is, Togruta so it looked more human, which is the same. I think actually just the same shot. So unfortunately, it's not Sabine, which we find out later.
No, Sabine Wren would have been great, but.
But it makes sense that she's not with Bo-Katan because of where Rebels leaves off. Because Rebels leaves off with her and Ahsoka going off on an adventure together, basically.
Right. To try and find Ezra, right?
Yeah, Ezra Bridger.
So she's a new character. I know the actress was in the WWE.
Yeah.
I don't remember her name, but
me neither.
Anyway, so mysterious figure looking on as Mando walks into the cantina, which I gotta say I love the detail of having the chowder dispenser hanging from the ceiling. They brought back the Mon Calamari flan from the first season because that's how Mando pays for stuff. And Mando gets on the boat with the Quarren, and he's told they'll take you where you need to go. Which
you knew was like, okay, this is from the get-go.
I didn't really trust him. But
didn't trust him.
When they said, "Oh, have you seen this thing eat?"
Immediately you're like, "Okay, yep, this is a trap." Yep.
And
like there's no Mon Cal to point at him and go, "It's a trap." But I mean,
it would have been perfect.
Yeah.
But I like the fact that they're making it so not only is Boda the person being hunted, but Mando is as well.
Yeah.
Because of the Beskar. And why won't he just paint the frickin' armor so it doesn't look like Beskar?
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know if it would matter or not. And maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but because everyone sees a Mandalorian, they immediately think Beskar, I think.
Maybe.
So whether he paints it or not, but I mean, I want to see him paint it just because I like the chrome, but I also like all the other colors that people do with their stuff. So,
anyway, they shoved Boda into this pit where they're feeding this animal. And they end up, Mando jumps after him, they lock him in, and all of a sudden, which I gotta say, if you want people to root for people getting blasted the snot out of, have them threaten Boda.
Yeah.
So, Mandalorians jump onto the boat and just wreck the place. And we finally see a character who, which I'm going to be honest, having not seen Rebels a whole lot, I saw the painting on the face mask, and I thought it was Sabine.
I did too. Mostly because of the bodies would have fit like a more grown up Sabine. I think she's a little bit thinner and stuff.
Yeah.
But then, I mean, then I saw, and just because she has designs on her helmet that are fairly unique and stuff.
Yeah.
And it just kind of, and you only see glimpses of it. It's too fast of a movement to really know until you get a full view of Bo-Katan, and then you're like, oh, okay, now I remember that's actually the house crest.
And they did a good job of like duplicating the blasters that Sabine uses in the TV show. Those are
I mean, all the
Mandalorian
Mandalorians
blasters.
use those, yeah.
And they look exactly. I recognize the blaster straight from the TV show. So, good job there. They introduce Bo-Katan, takes her helmet off. All three of them take their helmets off, and Mando again, kind of like, "You're not Mandalorians." And then, of course, their response is, "Oh, you're one of those."
One of those guys.
And one of them says the swear word.
Yeah.
Dank Ferrick, whatever, the swear word. And all we're told is, oh, you're part of a group called Children of the Watch. Which
so that kind of brings in, if with Rebels and Clone Wars brings back, maybe this is an offshoot of the offshoot known as Death Watch.
Right. And
which were the Zealots and everything. So
I expected that because, like, in the first season, the Mandalorians that rescued him looked like Death Watch. So I expected Death Watch, not some offshoot of Death Watch or something.
This is just what they go by now.
Maybe.
Or maybe that's what they've always gone by, and Death Watch was just like their elite group of the Children of the Watch.
Maybe.
But I mean, it definitely fits my theory ever since season 1, saying that he was a different clan of Mando.
Right. And trying to say you're not Mandalorians to the heir to Mandalorian.
Yeah.
The Mandalore.
it's just the patience that you can see on Bo-Katan's face too, just explaining like, okay, clearly you're indoctrinated to this creed of this zealot creed of Mandalorian. So we're gonna be patient with you because you seem like a good guy.
Yep. So, and then he basically just like, well, you're not who I'm expecting, so peace.
Yep.
And just leaves.
Later.
And then I love the shot of the 3 Mandalorians jumping away from Bo-Katan and her companions jumping away from the ship as it explodes into the sunset. I love it. Yeah.
And then, of course, we immediately get followed up into a Western type motif.
You killed my brother.
Yeah, you killed my brother. In like a dark alley, like just I don't know where Mando's walking in a dark alley, just.
And then we get like the one sit down point in this episode where they talk about
after Bo-Katan comes and says, I killed your brother.
And then they shoot the heck out of him.
Yeah.
But no, it's basically Bo-Katan will tell Mando where to find a Jedi in exchange for Mando helping them get a bunch of guns from an Imperial ship.
Mando seems to follow a theme here. I need something. I guess I'll go attack something to help you out to get to something I need.
I was going to say more of I'm going to trade with, I'm going to trade doing stuff.
My bargaining is I shoot things for you. Maybe makes sense. He's a bounty hunter, mercenaries, same thing.
Which, they used a Gazanti light cruiser, but they called it a transport.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering.
I remember the profile looked like what I've seen in different RPG books and everything when we first look at it. But then when you're looking at it from behind, I'm like, is that the same ship? It looks different.
Yeah. So I don't know if they remodeled them or I can imagine.
I think, yeah. I mean, if it's a transport, it may have been either a precursor or, um, yeah, or
I think it's a
possibly
later iteration. Like,
a downgrade,
I'm
just
sure they
minus weapons
have.
and stuff for speed and whatnot.
Yeah, they had the hull,
Hmm.
and it's like, well, we can just weld some more stuff on there and make it a transport. It'll be fine.
Yeah, yeah,
That I can totally see a government doing that.
yeah. The Empire would totally do that.
So, all right, you're gonna have to attack it, and Mando leaves Boda with Frog Lady and her husband.
And I really thought we would they would intercut this action sequence of stuff of him attacking the ship to we're gonna get random cutscenes of Boda trying to steal eggs, which thankfully they did not do.
Right, and
Because I think as we see him leave, we do see one frog hatchling happen.
yeah, you
at
see
Dewey's.
Boda going up to the thing, staring at it like he did in episode 2, just looking at them longingly, and then all of a sudden one of them breaks open and a tadpole swims out. I'd like to think that he learned that, this is where it was, but at the same time, I can't tell if he wanted to try and eat it too.
Yeah, I don't. I think there's an initial thought of maybe I can eat this thing as well, maybe. But then later on, we see, when he gets picked up, that I think the frogs maybe have had a positive influence on him because they're showing that, oh, this is our child, and he's like petting it and helping it and doing what normal kids would do at that age. A toddler would. Oh, okay, this isn't something I do. This is how we treat it instead.
Yes. So no, I think that was a good like closure to the arc last season. So
yeah.
Anyway, the attack on the ship. I have to say it was amazing to watch. Like Mando had to work to keep up compared to the other people. He really had to work to keep up. They were just.
I mean, granted, they're also dual wielding and being all pistoliers over there and gunslingers, and he's got the one.
Right, and I'm just curious if what kind of effect that's gonna have on him, because he was thinking they're not real Mandalorians, and then they are just wrecking house. Which the attack goes off. It's just this high speed, very quick action sequence going through, destroying.
Which Bo-Katan with the hidden blade and her gauntlet.
Yes.
Playing Assassin's Creed at the same time. Like, I put this out on a tweet on Twitter. There needs to be an Assassin's Creed Mandalore. That's just gotta be the next one. Totally do it, and we'd be fine. EA, hit me up. Ubisoft, hit me up. I'll work with you.
That would be awesome. But no, so they end up making it to the bridge, basically. Well, no, before that, you see them. I don't know if it's Mando he's got to be the badass, or if it's he's stuck. Like he feels he needs to keep up with these people. When they are attacking, or they're attacking, and they end up getting pinned by 2 stormtroopers with light repeating blasters. And Mando's like, all right, well, cover me. Grabs 2 grenades and runs out there like getting blasted in his Beskar armor.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Which still goes to the point, how much damage can a Beskar take? And you don't clearly he's feeling the force of the impacts of these bolts.
Well, I'm curious if he's like feeling the heat or something beneath that.
That too.
So
I would assume probably if you take enough shots, you probably would feel the heat because it probably absorbs it and spreads it around.
Yeah, and like I'm glad they showed him like he ducked out there and just took a bunch of hits and couldn't go more than half the hallway. Which I don't think he was planning on doing much more than that, but throws the grenades go off. And then they're at the bridge, and it's turned from we need to steal the guns to we need to take the ship.
Yeah, which this shows even more so the emotion that can be expressed behind a helmet from everybody in there.
Right. And
I was impressed with that. Just seeing the emotion of other people with their helmets on, just the head tilts just enough to
right. And
express certain emotions.
Mando is furious that she's
Yeah.
changing the deal on him.
Which he goes, "You've altered the deal," and I think every Star Wars fan after they hear there goes, "Pray that I do not alter this further."
Right. But I think Bo-Katan had a much better comeback.
Yeah,
This is the way.
Yeah. It's a little sassiness to it. It's like a little. The Kate Sackhoff gets a little of her sassiness sneak in there, I think.
Which was just such a perfect delivery on that line.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you could tell she knew exactly what she was doing, insulting, like, his belief system and everything. But beyond that, they take the ship. Imperial officer contacts Gideon. So we know there's a connection there.
And there's a fleet.
And there's a fleet.
There's a fleet. So this isn't just some random warlord taking over one small sector. It feels like this is a larger portion of the empire that's still together.
Right. And honestly, and at the same time, we find out that Bo-Katan knows that Gideon has the Darksaber. She just doesn't know where he is.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting to see what happens. Mando ends up leaving them as they take the ship away. Picks up Boda and leaves. And before he leaves them, Bo-Katan tells him where to find Ahsoka Tano.
Mm-hmm.
Which, like, I honestly got to say, earlier when we had the one slowdown scene, I appreciated the fact that they talked about, okay, what do you actually know about the Jedi?
Mm-hmm. Nothing.
Nothing. Versus Bo-Katan, who actually served with, fought alongside him and knows him and
Knows several Jedi.
Right. It'll be interesting to see what happens when he actually meets Ahsoka.
Yeah, that'll be very interesting, and I'm hoping that we don't have like another episode to wait. Like, I mean, I know there's gonna be probably most of the next episode will be him looking for Ahsoka and then finding her at the end.
That's what I would imagine too, because
But I also don't want it to be like 4 episodes later, we finally see Ahsoka. Which,
no, I honestly,
she's not here. Sorry, Mario. She's in the wrong castle.
So this next episode is written by Jon Favreau, directed by Carl Weathers.
Oh, okay, Carl Weathers. All right.
It's called The Siege.
Interesting. That has an interesting title to it.
Yes. I have no idea what's going to happen. I would imagine we're going to see Ahsoka at the end of that episode because the next episode, episode 5, is written and directed by Dave Filoni, which Ahsoka's his character. I would imagine that he would be the one to take over the character, write that character in live action. Also
makes me wonder at what point, because at the end of Rebels, there's a jump cut in time to after Return of the Jedi, because everything before it took place right before A New Hope.
Right.
But they don't say how far after the Empire falls that Ahsoka comes and picks up Sabine and they go off on their adventure. So I'm wondering if this is before that or after that point.
I don't know. I mean, maybe we'll still see Sabine.
So maybe, or maybe she goes after this to pick up Sabine. I
don't know.
Or maybe if she's on a planet and Bo-Katan knows she's there enough to like that she's staying there, that means either she's not with Sabine, traveling, finding Ezra. They've already found Ezra, and all of them are there, or Sabine and Ezra are back on Lothal after, and she just left.
I don't know.
I don't know. Who knows?
It'd be interesting to see Sabine and Ahsoka, but who knows? I imagine so my theory for the way this is going to end is, or at least this season, is just like last season. Mando goes out on an adventure, gathering allies, and then it ends with some big confrontation. I'm imagining this big confrontation this time around is going to be against Moff Gideon.
I would assume maybe even might be Bo-Katan's maybe gathering people, and she gathers Mando, who then Ahsoka and
I think it's going to be more of a Sabine, or not Sabine, but Bo-Katan gets Ahsoka, and Mando just tags along.
that too, yeah, or something,
Because the way she was acting, I don't think she would invite Mando along.
Well, yeah.
I think she'd fight with him if he was there, but I don't think she.
Well, unless because Gideon, it seems like maybe Gideon wants the child as well.
That's true.
Maybe. So maybe it's just, hey, we're gonna go take this guy out, and he's gonna go along because he knows the Empire won't stop.
Or maybe this season ends with Gideon getting Boda.
That would be a cliffhanger, and people would be. Yeah, that's actually that might be how it ends. they do this, yeah. Okay. Mm-hmm.
So just thinking to a traditional 3-act structure, Act 2 ends dark for the dark for the heroes. So 2-act 3-act structure. Gideon gets Boda. That's where the season ends, and we go from there. And then season 3 is just Mando gathering everyone he can together to go save Boda.
Yeah, or it could be even something to where he has the crisis with his creed, and just it
Maybe.
breaks him or something like that, where he's kind of broken, doesn't know what to do then.
Honestly, that might be where this ends, is Mando breaks from his creed and doesn't know what to do. So, anyway, that is what we got that's all I have for Mando Talk.
Yep. Yeah, it's going to be a short one because this episode was short. There's not much to go on. Not a lot of random, Easter eggs that at least I noticed.
Not really for me either. I mean, we talked about them, but there really wasn't much. So, anyway, the Razor Crest is kind of back together, and they're off to...
And you do see some sort of panel fly off again, just going back to Firefly. At the end of this, you have some sort of panel just floating, and it fell off of it as it's flying away into this,
Pretty much. So, anyway, we'll talk about ourselves for a moment. We are Sunday Night RPG. We do primarily live actual plays over on another live streaming network, and then I eventually post them to Twitter or to YouTube. Eventually.
Got a backlog of a year.
Yeah, and that's mostly because I've been busy at work with the coof. So, anyway. So Sunday nights we do Savage Midgard, which is a Vikings-themed Savage Worlds game. And then every other Friday night...
Which I think we kind of actually put to every Friday now.
Okay, every Friday that we can actually get people together.
Yep.
Beardsley runs Carts of Regulars, which is that one actually doesn't really get posted to YouTube because I never think to download or record it.
I mean, last several ones have been on my channel.
Yep. So
and I don't record.
Anyway, Carts of Regulars is a 5th edition D&D game, and that's what we do. So, thanks for joining us. We will see you next week for more Mando Talk.